Good morning. Are Kenyans here? How many Kenyans are here? Good. This is your presentation, and also for investors and private sector. And to talk about something before I forget, Lucy, the lady who was just here, didn't say that I helped her get the name read. But we are working with her, and I think it's going to be a good product for emergency response on the roads. I'm here today to talk about how blockchain could eventually change the way Kenyan government functions. I started this last year, and recently the president talked about it, so it's a good thing. We are looking at how blockchain can transform the public sector. Remember, ICT is an enabler for the big four, for the president. So I'm sure that we are on the right path, and we have very good people in government, including the CS, Joe Musheru, who is also pushing for this to be taken up in government. And I'll show you at the end of the presentation, you'll see what we are doing together with the Ministry of ICT, Immigration, and the rest of the government entities, including transport. So just quickly to talk about what we have done at NTSA, we are looking at the public blockchain, which has Bitcoin and the rest. By the way, I had 100 Bitcoins once. Don't smile, I'm broke. I sold them before. They were 1 million. I wished I held them. I bought them the first time I saw them in the year 2010. And I sold them off because I didn't really understand. But I started understanding blockchain, the framework that they run on. By that time, I had already sold them very cheaply. I will be a millionaire today if I still held them. So the public blockchain, for the people who really want to know, is equivalent to the internet in the 90s. And there is the private blockchain and the federated, which is equivalent to the intranet of the 90s. So these are internet of blockchains. That's the federated and private and distributed ledger technologies. So that's what it is. And I tried to explain on LinkedIn for those people who follow me using God and the Bible, but somebody almost killed me and told me I don't know the Bible. But what I needed to, I was telling someone that blockchain was started by God. He had the Garden of Eden, he had the apple tree with apples, then he had Adam and Eve and told them, do not eat the apple. I'm talking about transparency. And then Eve told Adam, just taste the apple. And when Adam tasted it, they realized they were naked. Transparency, they ran and hid. And God asked them, why are you hiding? And then they said, we are naked. How did you know? That's another story. And if you go to my LinkedIn, you'll see another story again on how the Bible is checked. No one can write the Bible and push it out to the users because it's checked against the real document that was. Otherwise, everyone will be writing their version of the Bible. That is why that book remains the way it is over this long period of time. Now, continuing with this, we have, it's not, you can't see clearly, but on the private blockchain, we have single organizations. That's where we are playing. And in this area, the situation is that we have permissioned, you have to have users register, and it's faster. It has pre-approved participants who we'll see later, and known identities. And you can use it for any assets. For this case, I'll show you we are using it for motor vehicle registration and transfers. So in the recent media attention, you can see that blockchain focuses more on the financial sector where we are talking about Bitcoins. But in Kenya, I'm sure we'll use blockchain to streamline Kenyan services. That's the public services in government. And also I would say that in the Kenyan economy, blockchain has the potential to help governments achieve policy goals by leapfrogging intermediate layers of technology. Now, the last Arafat Mohammed talked about identity. In Kenya, for us to start this process whereby we move from piloting projects to full rollout, we need to talk about identity management. And digital identity is both a use case for blockchain and the enabler that allows the other assets discussed by blockchain integrations to exist. So we have to have identity management gotten right first before we even move to the other things that we are talking about. So whether we are talking about land titles, he talked about land. I have a prototype system of almost what he was showing us. We have cars. We are going to look at that in terms of what NTSA is doing. Then we'll also look at integrations, Alcoblo with Higher Education Loans Board. The people who get drunk sometimes don't pay loans. So if you blow, it will show you your balance before. I was working on that before we were chased out of the roads. You're a bit lucky. The Kenyans, you're a bit lucky, but I'm sure we'll give the police next week those gadgets, and soon you'll see blockchain working, whereby when you blow, you see you have a loan because there's some behavior that is linked to some other behavior. So we are working on that, and we'll show pilots in this area very soon. So we have challenges recognized in public sector around the world, where 1/5 of the world's population lives without a legal, officially recognized identity. And I'm sure Nigeria, somebody has talked about Nigeria. I've been to Nigeria, and I've been to their office where they register people and where they print cards. I've gone there twice in Abuja, and I saw what they are doing, only that their population is also very big. In some areas, people don't require identity. But the good thing with Kenya, we all require identity. I'm going to talk about how we are getting in touch with IEBC to get the fingerprints of the people in the pictures, so that when we issue the smart driver's license or any smart identity, we don't require the 19 million Kenyans to come back again to register, like what we are doing now. That is what blockchain will do. So quickly, I would say that we've been working behind the scenes before the creation of the task force, and I would like to recognize the task force members. I've had John Walubengo, my friend, is here. And now I know that with this put in place, I'm sure that we'll have a wide range of services and processes in government that will use this technology. And I want to start with an example of a local government agency. That's my agency, that's NTSA, using the blockchain framework to provide government services. So National Transport and Safety Authority was created by the Act of Parliament 33, the year 2012. And we are supposed to harmonize operations of the key transport departments, which were previously handled by various government departments. So as you can see, we used to have Ministry of Transport, which used to deal with the policy, Ministry of Roads, Transport Licensing Board, Road Transport Department, National Road Safety Council, Motor Vehicle Inspection, Kenya Revenue Authority, Traffic Police Department, and Ministry of Local Government. So we brought all those together to form this entity called NTSA. And that made sure that we had to have a strategy to work with technology. That is a system. We started with a system called Teams, which will help the institution, the government, eliminate fraud. I need to go back there. To eliminate fraud, provide a single source of truth on road transport data, improve access and security to information, provide access to shared transport data, improve efficiency and effectiveness of resource utilization, improve on compliance of traffic rules, and integrate all databases in the transport sector. So from that, I looked at it as the head of the department that we needed a frictionless, transparent, and imperfect sharing. Where we have NRB, IPRS, that is the entity that creates the identity card. And that means that's the entity that identifies the user. Then we have KRA, who previously were doing the registration of vehicles, but it was a department in that KRA, and it was brought to us. Then we have NTSA, that's ourselves. Judiciary, on the roads, when you are caught and they ask for money to pay bond, it doesn't come to NTSA. It actually goes to judiciary. So that's another link if we want to do something called spot fines. Then other GOK entities like NSSF, NHIF, because like on our driving card, the driving license, we have the blood group for those guys who've gotten. So we have declining trust in institutions, where you've had people saying that, why should I give you data? Why should I give you this? So that is why we have that declining trust in institutions. But with technology, people are happy to use technology if they are aware they can see their systems. So what's the strategy I had is that we conducted 5 focus pilots for blockchain across multiple government agencies. We have motor vehicle assets, driver licenses, motor vehicle inspection, and road safety. And then we have the tax registration PIN, because for you to have a car, you will need to have a PIN number. Today in Kenya, you'll find refugees who don't have a PIN number have bigger cars than the Kenyans sitting here. So that's the question, why? They have land. So do they pay taxes? How do they get this land? That's another question. But I'm sure blockchain will solve these issues. So the other one, we have eCitizen, which is a government payment platform. It's really helped people access payments to government without going to line up. As much as it has a few issues here and there, it's helping people, and I'm sure with time it will reach maturity. And all systems reach maturity whereby the problems they have will settle down. And then we have banks. All banks now are connected to our system. I know we have Prime Bank here, we have Mayfair Bank here, and the directors of Mayfair, like Chandaria, know what they are doing with the system. If you go there with a logbook to get a loan, they will ask you for your ID. They won't require the logbook, because in Kenya, the logbooks are made down here at River Road. So if you do that, then you go to the bank and they use it, you find this guy has multiple loans. Insurance companies also, that is in the next 1 month will be connected to insurance companies through IRA. This situation is so that if there's somebody 2 years ago who registered a Range Rover at 15 million and registered in 3 insurance companies who were greedy, and I think he was also greedy, but no one wanted to talk about it. It's a market competition. The guy kept all his receipts. Then he crashed his car after 2 years. The investment was 1.8 million from him. And he asked for 45 million, 15 million from each insurance company. So this meant that he had put an investment of 1.8 to get 45 million. And when he was taken to court, he provided proof that he had paid 300,000 every year in all these insurance companies. And this now caused a situation that how do they confirm that this vehicle has been pre-insured? We don't refuse as government for you to insure an asset multiple times. It's okay. But for vehicles, what we are doing now, when you do you cover your vehicle, it will send the policy to our system. And if another one covers, it will send the policy to our system, and it will alert the insurance companies that there's another extra cover for the same vehicle. So if you have your car gets an accident, the 3 companies will come together and pay you for 1 vehicle, rather than paying you for 3 vehicles, because that guy gained from no reason. So these are things that we are going to see as we move along. Okay, I will just move quickly. In the system, for those people who've logged in, you can see your vehicles. Those are not my vehicles. Those are for Toyota Kenya, I think. And it's on demo. So that's why they have a lot of vehicles, and those are motorbikes. You can see your vehicles. Previously, you could not see your vehicles because the government owned the number plate system. Yet the number plate system, according to me, is supposed to be for the people. Why should I have number plates and hold them to myself? Kenyans used to ask, what number plate series are we in? But now you are able to see that. And on my traffic violations, from next week when we give back those gadgets, you can see traffic violations were coming to the system, were coming back to the system. When you are caught on the road, next week when we put this function in, you'll all have 0 traffic violations, the Kenyans, so don't worry. I'm clearing all of you. You'll have 0 violations, but no, immediately you see this there. Next time you are caught, just know you'll have a report card like a student, knowing that, oh God, this is how I behave. And for the people who employ drivers, will have to go there to check if your driver is on good conduct before you employ them. So you just ask them, can I get NTSA before I employ you? And also to check using the mobile apps that most of you have from us, you can check if that driver's license is valid or not. So that is the situation there. I'm just moving quickly to just showcase. Then that's from the roads, we can see distribution of fatalities. Over the weekends, we see Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's when guys get drunk and drink, drive, and speed while they are going away on holiday for the weekend or whatever reason. But you can see those days is when it's higher. And all this comes from that system. Again, PSVs, illegal PSVs. Some of you carry cars, use your own cars to carry passengers. And you can see guys of Probox. And remember, all these guys are young guys. Probox, Voxy, Sienta, Noah, Wish, Tornes, Vanet. Only Nissan, but Toyota Raum. All these are Toyotas except Nissan. DT Dobby, the other one is Toyota. So I think if somebody from Toyota is here, needs to know who is they're selling the vehicle to. Subaru refused to, insurance said they would not cover Subarus because of a certain reason. That was last year. And we know because of some of these data. And you can see age group between the age of 20 to the age of 40, these are the highest group. And the 0 to 4 there, those are people who crash when they have children in their cars. So then 80 to 85, they shouldn't even be driving, but they are in Kenya. So it's something we'll deal with when we have this blockchain working perfectly. So existing pain points. We have lack of standards for establishing digital identity, and I've talked about that, and I'll tell you what we are already doing, collecting digital identity through NRB. There are differing processes in identity entry points to prevent economic engagement. Every department in Kenya, you go to lands, they are collecting digital identity of people in a different way, from transport, from agriculture, from any other place. So we need to work on that. And what will blockchain do for us? The value proposition. We'll have a secure sovereign identity which could enable efficient transaction across a wide variety of assets. And I see Mohammed Arafat talked about that, what that identity is. So we'll have an individual having explicit control over which identity elements are shared for which purposes. Then he talked about land, and in Kenya, we have a land problem. If you buy land today, you'll take 6 months before you get your title. Question, why? Kenyans should be asking that. And the existing pain points that license and registry processes are paper-based, making transactions costly and inefficient. In Kenya, landowners spend millions of shillings on title insurance, cover risk associated with real estate. So these I usually share with the concerned ministries. I'm in a good place, I sit in a good place, so they get to know, they know what I talk about. Then another value proposition is that decentralized, standardized system for registration of records could reduce the number of intermediaries. Too many agents in Kenya. I'm sure Nigeria has the same. And they're also here doing the same for us. Then recording property versus blockchain will enable cost saving in Kenya alone. Then we have the biggest one that almost brought Kenya to a standstill, voting. We have a very good procedure. I've spoken to Chiloba about this, my village mate. A very good procedure on voting procedure. You come and take your fingerprint, but look at that line. The line becomes long. Then later on, you find even the people arguing about the number of people who voted. So I think blockchain in this area will sort us out. By 2022, if the task force has started today, John, I'm sure you are listening, 2022, we should be voting on blockchain. I hope that is hard. And it's very easy. You vote using a token. So there are high costs related to ballot printing. Today in the papers, the parliament is asking why a printer was costing so much for those guys who've read the paper today. And the maintenance, there are threats on cyber attacks. You remember opening of the server, Kenyans? Lack of transparency due to centralized process of election results audit. I'm sure Kenyans know. Then voting delays, inefficiencies. You remember those areas whereby the cars couldn't get because of problems in terms of the roads. So value proposition, potential cost saving through blockchain-enabled voting, potential for enhancing security, auditability of votes, greater participation in elections, including remote, greater transparency, meeting citizen needs. So NTSA is seeking IBC. I hope IBC listen to this. We want to ask for that fingerprint so that we give the services to Kenyans faster rather than calling them to our offices. Then third identifier sticker. This is an RFID sticker which will help insurance companies host their sticker into electronic sticker into our sticker, which is already functional to identify a vehicle. We have drone surveillance, which I had started, then we are removed from the roads, but I think a drone is not an individual, so I think I can still deploy it. Then NTSA alcohol integration to help loans ledger. We have that. I talked about that. Then something I will call a domestic identity card infrastructure, which I'm also working on with the Immigration and Ministry of ICT. We want the capability. I have the capability today to dial your number plate and call you. I know it's a shock for Kenyans. When you're misbehaving, I can dial your number plate and I call you, if you register that car properly. And then I will need, and I've talked to the CS about this, I should be able to dial your identity number and reach you, meaning that I have to ask the telcos to have only the ID number, to sell the prefix, but the government gives the number. Anyway, that's a discussion for techies. So we are working on finally we'll be working on the need for a trusted identity card, which is already ongoing. As you've heard, they want one single source of truth, and we are working on that. I'm out of time, but let me just rush. So we picked this where we have a card which has from birth to death. So your same card has a family tree. So if you die, then you will just use the same card for letter of administration. So you can see me later for this because I've run out of time. And we are coming up with the applets on our identity card. The driving license, we already have this. So we are going to have a national identity card that has these applets that are connected to the blockchain infrastructure that will have voting, we have health, we have tax, we have personal identification, we have SIM card registration, we have help, we won't require you to register, and we have your logbook. I don't know why we give logbooks. We tell you you're coming for your logbook. It should be electronic. And I continue forcing it until one day, maybe one day is next year, it's going to work. So that's it. So we are talking about blockchain driving our competitive advantage as Kenya. Thank you.
We have time for one question, so if you have any questions, please.
So we have a prototype there for the single source of truth that you can see me and see. When you put your ID number, you'll get everything of yours in one place. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wangila. That was a very informative presentation. My name is Mir Haq. I'm a VC from Silicon Valley, also a native of Bangladesh. And I met the ICT minister of Bangladesh last month, and he told me Kenya is a role model for digitization, you know, the way things are happening. So kudos to you guys for all this great initiative. My question is, you know, a lot of these countries are going through transition. You know, I'm from Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, Kenya. Do you see a way to collaborate, probably pool resources together and, you know, replicate success of one country to others? That way we don't have to reinvent the wheel and waste all these resources. Is there a way to governments to collaborate? You know, because a lot of these stuff that you're showing, in Bangladesh, we are just reinventing. You know, we are just starting to figure this out, right? And I see a lot of, you know, places where there are synergies. You know, in Bangladesh, we digitize biometric. We are tethering all the mobile money's payment to one singular identity, right? Like here you have NTSA and many others slew of mobile money, but none of them are tied to one identity. As a result, you don't have a 360 view of the credit, right? And which is super important to unlock the credit. And that is something we are doing in Bangladesh, and my firm is leading it, right? So, but in Kenya, we are doing very holistic ecosystem that you showed, right? So I see, if these countries put hands together, we can learn from each other, accelerate the learning curve, and probably do it a lot faster than doing it on our own.
Yeah, that will happen because even in Kenya, when you look at the national identity card that we are talking about, I went around Europe, then I ended up in Nigeria, and when I was in Nigeria, in Abuja, I saw their plan. I don't know if, I asked if they're executing it, but they had a very good plan. I asked if they're executing it, and they said they are working on it. Then I came and worked on it. So what I mean is that they might be the ones who, they're here actually, they must be the ones who will come back to us again to see how do we did it. M-Pesa, on the other hand, South Africa came to Kenya. So we are inviting anyone, and we are also asking anyone who is already there, because infrastructure is shared in countries. We are one world. One time you'll find that when we have a public blockchain for all countries, today I have people coming to register for vehicles, and they're aliens. They drive vehicles, so they get alien ID. I have to give them registration, but I have to give them registration knowing where they're coming from, and I get that data. So with time, you'll find the ecosystem opening up. Just like the borders, the physical borders, the president opened the East Africa one recently, but technology will open without the virtual borders, and we'll work together, all of us. And I'm sure it will become, the dots will join until everyone, like the Bitcoin, it's everywhere now. So blockchain will be everywhere very soon, as long as we know what we are doing. And it all comes to identity. If you get your identity right, then everything will work.
I work for a bank in Nigeria, and I can tell you authoritatively that our USSD banking is very strong. The issue we need now is to be able to deal with our identity management, but we have done BVN, so every bank account holder who's active, we know who they are. But the key issue now is how do we take blockchain to get more people who are underbanked, and that's really where our challenge is. Thank you.
Okay, I think that was a comment, but you need more technical people who should attend these conferences, and so that you meet the people who deal with this, and these conversations can go better. Because for me, if I speak to you technically, you might not understand what I'm talking about. So I try my best to speak non-technical language. So if we have technical people, then we can discuss that, so that I don't show you algorithms that are used. Instead, I talk to the technical guy and give them examples of codes they can use to create this, and what to use, whether to use open chain, whether to use any other that is available. But it's all a start. Thank you.